like.
Oh yeah.
Hello there, and welcome to Raising Digital Citizens 4 out of 5, where we talk about the digital world, digital parenting, and try to answer questions from you guys about this world that probably wasn't designed with our children in mind. And I'm Soren, and with me is Jessica, my wife and my life partner, and one of the most wonderful people I know.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. It's been a good day.
Who do you want to start? Shall we start? We've got some questions.
Okay, I can definitely start. What is one thing we keep forgetting when we talk kids and screens?
Oh, yeah. I answer?
Yes.
I'll try. I think just saying screens is one of the worst things we've ever done, because it's what happens behind the screen that's important. You know, I have sometimes seen our daughter be engaged in one of the most creative filmmaking projects with animals and characters and friends, and for me, she could, and music, do that all weekend. I don't care. So it's what, but I've also seen and heard about some terrible episodes where just 5 minutes of exposure to absolutely inappropriate material that I still cannot understand why on earth this world has brought about the possibility that our kids could be exposed to something like that. And that's behind the screen. It's 30 seconds. It's terrifying. There are some addictions. There are dreadful algorithms that keep feeding us, and here talk adults as well, keep feeding us with the worst of the worst, just so some people can make a lot of money. That happens behind the screen. And again, we see educational material, beautiful film, beautiful documentaries. So I think the confusion about screens are wrong. I think it's the quality, of course, that goes on behind it. So sometimes as a parenting tip, rather than say stay off your screen, I would be curious and say, what are you doing now?
Yes, and I think I would just add to that.
Good question, though.
Be aware of the importance of also talking about, the awareness of the algorithm, and the awareness of the what they're seeing, and so that I think ultimately our goal is also to empower our kids to, obviously it's very powerful, AI, and it's very powerful, a lot of these things. Mm-hmm. But our aim is also to be able to control it so it doesn't control us. Yeah, the moment you realize that you've been caught in some minutes or hours of doom scrolling, I think to think that we can keep our children away from ever experiencing that, I don't believe in that. So I would rather really explain that to my children and see something about it behind the screen, or try and figure out why was it invented, what happens, and what is dopamine, what kicks in our brain when these things happen, when we see an image of a little happy cat, what happens. Yeah, I would also say, maybe we're not totally in agreement on this, but I don't love using the word addiction personally when we're talking about screens. I know that's generally what people say, but there are a lot of psychologists now that are pushing back a little bit on it, and I think one of the dangers is, first of all, it's not exactly the same as other kinds of addictions, and when we come at our kids and say, you're addicted to that, and don't be so addicted, I think it's also a little bit like any kind of very negative label that we put on things, or put on our children, or on ourselves, is that it can actually have the opposite effect that we want, where it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy rather than, so personally prefer like something like dependent or other
Yeah,
kinds of words.
I mean,
It's a detail, but it's one of those things that I think we have to be careful, because it is very sort of common and in fashion now that parents come at their kids meaning you're addicted to that screen, take that screen away, you're an addict.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% with you in terms of the staying away from labeling children in any kind. But I think as many researchers that points nowadays to it not being at all with as other addictions, there are also researchers that show how the brain reacts when it's confronted with some very strong images or the addiction of some of the gaming tricks that are used in games that are available down to very young ages. You know, the whole tricks of the Vegas world is many times the way that points are rewarded, and when you put people in an MRI and see what happens in the brain, it's very similar to people that are on drugs. But let's not.
All right, let's not
argue in
go around
front
on
of
that.
everybody
Yes,
here.
okay.
That's not the.
All right. So I think isn't it my turn?
I don't know. I can do one. Do this one.
Yeah.
I feel completely behind apps and technology. I feel completely behind when it comes to apps and technology. What should I do? I guess what this person means is that it's not somebody who knows everything. What's the advice there?
I mean, my advice is to get curious and learn about it. Be open to it. Stop yourself if you try to catch yourself when your immediate reaction is dismissiveness or judgment or eye rolling, or that's just it's such a terrible, awful, addictive app. Mainly because whether or not your child gets the app, they're probably talking about it because it's around, it's in their life, it's part of their world. And if you want them to feel validated, if you want them to feel like their emotions matter, also in the digital world, which ultimately is not going away. I mean, at some point it is going to be part of their lives. Then I think.
What do you mean at some point?
No, I mean it is part. I mean, I guess a lot of parents still think that we're going to protect them from it as long as possible. I think the worlds are merging, and at some age, I mean, they'll be more and more immersed in it. So I'm saying, like, even if you have not given, you think you've given them no access to anything, their friends, the world is around. So I have found myself personally have had the experience where I went from being a little bit dismissive and judgmental about the mentioning of certain apps to teach me about it, getting curious, and actually the appreciation from our daughter in particularly, and you with our son when you got interested in his gaming and stuff, is it means a lot. It really means a lot.
If I may just add as well that there is such a generational divide between parents and kids all the time, and there probably always has been. But the way that technology moves these days, it just accelerated. So I'd like to meet the parent who says, yeah, no, I'm completely up to date with everything that's out there right now. I mean, actually, I wouldn't want to meet that person. But I myself very humble. I mean, I can't open a computer without seeing some new fantastic thing that's out there, and a lot of things are fantastic. But we can't pretend to be knowing it all, and if we pass that on to our kids, it's even worse.
But I don't. Yeah, okay. So there is the idea of knowing it all. But
do you disagree with me again?
No. But I feel like it's. I think the issue is not so much that. Well, I guess they do feel like they know it all in the sense that they know it's bad. Mm-hmm. That's what we know. We know it's bad. That's all we know. We know it's bad. We know it's addictive. We know it's polluting. We know it's and again. So that where does that leave our kids? And I've heard it over and over again from the mouth of the child that I would never come and talk to my parents. I wouldn't. My parents have no idea what's going on in my world, and that's when we have to ask ourselves if that's what we want.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think that's.
Thank you very much.
That probably is danger number one. The thing we have to keep in mind all the time is like, whatever I say, whatever my approach is in this talk or non-talk, is that I have to make sure that I'm constantly connected to my child so that when things happen, they can come to me.
Yeah.
I think that's worth preserving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Should we do a couple more?
All right. Where do you stand on banning certain apps for kids?
Oh, I guess that's meant both as a like from outside world banning apps before they hit the market, or is it
No, I think
parents banning?
I'm guessing this.
Let's
is
do
about...
both. Let's do both.
do both.
I'd say absolutely age limits to apps are needed, and it's a shame that they can't be enforced, and that you can go into any app and say, "Are you over 18?" Yes, I am. I'm 42, says the 9-year-old. And there is just no checks, and I think that's very important, and I can't put enough pressure whenever I speak to somebody about having that done. It's but it's also a double-edged sword, because I don't want people to think, well, it's 11 or 13, so it's fine, because not all kids are the same. Some children are just not ready, even though it says. There's some films I'm not ready to see, and I'm past 18.
Who doesn't like scary movies?
I don't like scary movies. And I think that there are children that are not ready for certain apps and certain games, and I think that's our responsibility as parents to have a little feeler about that. So the fact that it says, okay, it's free for all, doesn't necessarily mean that your child is ready for it. On parents banning apps I think if society, wherever you live, hasn't banned a certain app and you feel that it's not right because I think you should impose it. And I think in another episode we have been talking, and we will be talking about what do we then do when the pressure from all that, now you've probably heard this one, but all my friends have this app, right? And that's an important one. We have to figure out what we do about that. But I guess that's where I stand on apps and stuff. Last question. Do you have a last question?
Yes. Okay.
Is it one we can answer?
What are some of the digital habits you have at home? Okay.
Well, you could answer that as well, but we live together, so we can answer it simultaneously. I guess one, we never have screens when we eat.
Never.
We have periods where we don't have screens for quite a long time. Also before bedtime.
I think it's very interesting how you'll find in a family that depending on how many children you have, if you have one, whatever, how much I think they are related, also our phone use. So somehow I feel like you and Sophia have a little bit more of a similar, I think you're a little more balanced and controlled. I
call that regimented and responsible.
Whereas I feel like I relate maybe a little bit more to my son. Like
Your son.
Sorry, our son. I struggle a little bit with balancing the screen, for sure. I have to keep myself in check, and I think he probably has it a little bit more as well. So it's funny, I do feel like even phone use is something that's almost, I don't want to say genetic, because it's not, but it's really good to be aware. I think it's
of your discipline, your internal discipline,
and maybe even sometimes to talk about it. Like I've talked about openly, like some of my struggles, because I think that also makes you very real and vulnerable, and I think it also helps your kids respect you more. That you're not trying to be. I mean, oh my God, over and over and over again, you hear kids that talk about, my parents snatched my phone away and complain about my screen use, and then I'm on their phone looking for a photo, and I can see 11 hours of screen a day. And
actually, a popular card in this Raising Digital Citizens kit is there's one, I don't remember the exact wording, but it is who in your family spends the most time on your app. Right? That's an interesting kit, because I've seen many times the parent is like, and then they're surprised when they hear from their child that that's definitely dad or it's definitely mom. So
Yeah. No, it's a great opportunity, I think, to when you're looking at your digital habits, to keep ourselves in check. To be honest, remember we're modeling.
Yeah.
We are the models. It's fine. Kids have different rules than we do, but.
Can I just end with something very clever, because I feel that I just thought of something, because you said earlier that the digital world, and we shouldn't talk about a real world and a digital because it's all merged, and I think that's a very good point. And I think the same thing. So a digital habit is also a non-digital habit. By which I mean, so the best way to get your child to do something really smart or be balanced with what they do is to do something completely different. Like last weekend, I took my son camping.
Whose son?
Damn it, it's 2-2 now, right?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I took our son. I just feel when we camp, it's more my son.
Yeah. No, it's when I do this, I get in trouble. But okay,
whatever. So I took our son camping, and there's no screen, and it's almost 36 hours of that. When we do sports, when we go outside, when we so many times. Maybe the first time you just say, "Hey, should we do something?" You probably met sometimes with, "No, I'm just in the middle of something." But it doesn't take that much, and if the offer is real valid and interesting, it's not, do you want to help me do the vacuum cleaning? It's probably not going to get the same reception as, hey, should we take a stroll in the park and have an ice cream? But these things, and throw some games in on the way, is part of a balanced digital life. So.
And that takes effort on our part, obviously. But I'll just add on top of that, last thing, I promise, is that the more the basis of what we're talking about is this idea of having these conversations and connection and building this relationship about their online life. And what we find, ironically, is that the more you do this, the more you show genuine interest in their digital life, and you make this, part of our whole world, what it means to be a good person. We find that they get more balance by default. So,
all right. Well, you get the last clever question.
Last word.
And with that, we say thank you for being here. Remember that it's not about having all the answers, just like we don't. Well, I do, but it's about being curious and starting the right conversations. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
See you another time.